That olive oil you just bought, there is a good chance it is not actually olive oil. That Parmesan cheese you sprinkled on your pasta tonight may have never touched a single Parmesan wheel in its life. And that honey sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now could be mostly sugar water with yellow food coloring. Food fraud is a $50 billion industry worldwide, and it is happening in every grocery store, on every shelf, including the ones you trust most. Here are the foods most likely to be fake and how to spot the real ones. Number 1. Olive oil. And this is the biggest food fraud on the planet. Studies by the University of California found that more than 60% of olive oil sold as extra virgin in American supermarkets fails the actual standard for extra virgin. What are you actually buying? Cheaper seed oils. Sunflower, canola, sometimes even soybean, mixed with a small amount of real olive oil and sometimes artificially colored to look right. The fake version looks identical, smells almost identical, and is sitting on your shelf right now labeled pure. How to spot real olive oil? Put it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. Real extra virgin olive oil becomes cloudy or semi-solid when cold. Fake oil stays completely clear. That one test could change every bottle you buy from now on. Number 2. Parmesan cheese. In 2016, the United States FDA investigated pre-grated Parmesan sold in major grocery stores. What they found was that some products labeled 100% Parmesan contained up to 9% cellulose. Cellulose is wood pulp, a filler used to stop cheese from clumping, in amounts the FDA considers technically within legal limits. One brand was found to contain 0% real Parmesan. The entire container. Nothing but filler, other cheaper cheeses, and additives. The fix is simple. Buy Parmesan in a block and grate it yourself. Pre-grated is where the substitution happens. Block Parmesan is much harder to fake economically. Number 3. Honey. The Food Safety News Organization tested honey from multiple American stores and found that over 75% of samples had the pollen completely filtered out. Why does that matter? Because pollen is the only way to trace where honey actually came from. Without pollen, you cannot verify the source. You cannot confirm it is real honey. And in many cases, what fills those bears and jars is a mixture of sugar syrup, corn syrup, and water with natural honey flavoring. Real honey from real bees will always crystallize over time. If your honey has been sitting for months and is still perfectly liquid and clear, you should ask some questions. Number 4. And this one is the most disturbing. Seafood. Oceana, a major ocean conservation organization, conducted the largest seafood fraud investigation ever done in the United States. They bought seafood samples from restaurants, grocery stores, and sushi bars and tested the DNA of every single sample. 1 in 5 samples was not the fish it was labeled as. 1 in 3 samples at restaurants. 2 out of 3 samples at sushi bars. The most commonly mislabeled fish? Snapper. 87% of snapper samples tested were actually a completely different fish. Often tilefish, which the FDA specifically warns pregnant women to avoid because of mercury content. You ordered snapper. You ate something else entirely, and nobody told you. Number 5. Ground beef. This one is legal, which somehow makes it worse. When you see ground beef labeled as 80% lean, that label tells you the fat content. What it does not tell you is that some manufacturers add what is called lean, finely textured beef to meet that percentage. Lean, finely textured beef is the trimmings and connective tissue left after regular cuts are removed, processed at high speed, treated with ammonium hydroxide to kill bacteria, and mixed back into your ground beef. It became known in news coverage as pink slime, and it is completely legal. And completely unlabeled. Number 6. Ground coffee. A study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry found that ground coffee from multiple major brands contained adulterants including dried chicory root, dried figs, corn, and in some samples, soybeans. These are all cheaper fillers. They look similar to coffee grounds when mixed in. They affect the flavor only slightly because coffee's strong taste masks them, and they are almost impossible to detect without laboratory testing. The safest option? Buy whole beans and grind them yourself. It is almost impossible to fake a whole coffee bean. The fraud happens after grinding. Number 7. The final one, saffron, the most expensive spice in the world, which makes it the most counterfeited spice in the world. Real saffron costs up to $5,000 per pound. What gets sold instead? Dyed corn silk, shredded paper, Safflower threads soaked in food coloring. Even strands of coconut fiber dyed bright red to look exactly right. The test is simple. Place one thread in warm water. Real saffron slowly releases a golden yellow color over 15 to 20 minutes. Fake saffron releases dye instantly, turning the water bright red or orange in seconds. If your saffron bleeds color fast, it is not saffron. 7 foods. The oil you cook with, the cheese you grate, the honey you spoon, the fish you order, the beef you buy, the coffee you drink, the spice you pay a fortune for. Food fraud is not rare. It is not happening in back alleys. It is happening on the shelves of stores you visit every week. The difference between knowing and not knowing is you watching this video. Which one of these surprised you most? Drop the number in the comments and subscribe, because next week we are covering the brands specifically, the ones with the highest fraud rates and the ones you can actually trust.